Games are not art.
Baby, I'm electrified.
I'm sure a lot of you who clicked on this video as well as being fans of this game will definitely disagree with that notion, and guess what? I'm one of those people who disagrees with that statement. I think it's obvious that video games are indeed a form of art, albeit it's one that requires a lot more work to put into it than just something you can put on your fridge for your mom to see. Hey, you'll have people like Roger Ebert, George R.R. Martin, and even at one point even Hideo Kojima saying that games are not art. How could you, Kojima? But this isn't a video talking about the stupid question about games being an art form. No, I actually want to talk about a game that just oozes with artistic grace.
We're gonna bunka, we're gonna junka, and we're gonna bam in their faces!
Yes! Now you're talking!
No Straight Roads. This is just an FYI, I played this game on the Nintendo Switch, mainly because I'm trying to get my library filled on this damn thing, and while there are a few issues with this game,
look boys, our one true love is finally here. Let's be the ideal boyfriends and give her our
don't take this video as a slam against the game on other platforms when I get into my issues with it, at least when it comes to the graphics. So what is No Straight Roads? Well, it's an action-adventure music-based game where you play as...
Heya! The name's Mayday. I wield a guitar, and he is...
Zook.
And he plays the...
Drums.
a pair of rock and roll musicians who live in Vinyl City with the goal of bringing back rock and roll. Singing from the tyranny of EDM and the NSR corporation that uses music to create energy. And that's the basic plot. To be honest, I love the concept. Having two forms of music vying for control of a city, it's classic. Now, you may be wondering how music can be used as a power source of energy, and in which the game promptly responds with, "Shut up and fight this space-themed DJ with hairy legs."
Such incompetence.
Which you know is perfectly fine. Critics of media will often, in order to paint something worse, will often bring up logical questions which on the surface sound like to be legit questions about the game or whatever media they're talking about. Except when you realize that they're talking about a piece of fiction, would learning how music can be converted into energy be interesting?
Welcome to the Festival Plaza. Come see the iconic Grand Kwasa. We feed it music and it powers the whole city. Impressive technology, don't you agree? Attention, please!
Sure, but just because the game doesn't go into the nitty-gritty of how this thing works doesn't make it a bad thing. Unless that's to deal with the actual writing, just because there are questions about the world that isn't a slam against the product. Unless you happen to be one of those big-brained individuals whose creativity is bankrupt to the point where you are starved your imagination. Besides, this falls in the idea of symbolism, with the power of rock in showing a rebellious nature against oppressive forces. But since I want to cover that when I get to the actual plot of this video, and since I tanked the watch time of this video by waxing on about artistical BS, let's take a moment to talk more about art.
You can't be serious.
The thing that drew me to No Straight Roads was a combination of its concept, the art style, and its music. I've already explained what the concept is, but I've always found the idea of musicians or artists in general rising against oppression to be an interesting concept for a story.
We fight for the little guys! Zook, come here. Put your hand next to mine.
Huh? Oh, okay.
What are you doing? Just hold up your pinky finger.
Oh, like this?
Now, put your hand next to mine. No, the other side.
Oh, okay.
A bit more to the right. No, my right.
But I was moving to your right.
No, you just... never mind. Move left.
Like this?
More. Left. Yahoo! For the little guys.
Especially since it's a reflection of our real world. How oftentimes you have artists who have their art reflect against current events in order to make a statement about today. Then again, as an artist myself, I find that to be more of a headache since anyone with two working thumbs and the ability to open up a Twitter account is willing to read way too much into a picture of fictional creatures. And trees.
How dare you!
And that's when the concept comes into play. The game opens up with Mayday and Zook at an audition to join the NSR. the company that managed to turn music into energy, and looking to become top musicians so they can power the city they live in with their tunes.
Zook, say something!
Ta-da! Okay.
This is...
However, due to a bias from all the judges, the duo gets kicked out, despite the fact that we learn that their music has enough energy that could potentially help out Vinyl City with any power issues. As someone who draws art and has attempted to get into the more professional field, I was able to connect with the game on a deeper level since, hey, I get that! Being kicked out because you specialize in a certain field despite your skill can be heartbreaking, and it doesn't hurt that when you learn that the people who kicked you out are jerks.
I would like to announce that rock music is hereby banned from future Lights Up editions. For a better prospect at winning, we suggest that you stick to what works: EDM.
Well... But regardless, the second reason that drew my attention is the unique art style of the game. Characters typically don't follow the realistic body proportions, what with the lanky bodies, the large hands, the exaggerated skin colorings. It really makes the characters pop out more and more memorable in my mind, especially since you have a primary color to associate with them, Zook being green and Mayday being orange. And even some of the characters you talk to can have different skin colors, adding more to their personality and characteristics.
Excuse me.
Mayday and Zook! What are you two doing here? Get out!
That's not the welcome I expected.
I also want to talk about the level and boss design, since the artistic direction clearly had a lot of thought put into it.
I've designed the look and feel of the game in overall. I've done several murals around Malaysia. I have one in Pulau Ketam, I have one in Sarawak. I was able to bring in a different perspective to the art. I hope the players will be able to understand the story and motivation of each boss just by the visuals alone.
Each of the bosses have a clear theme to them. DJ Subatomic Supernova, if the name didn't give it away, has a clear space theme.
My music will reach the furthest corners of the galaxy. What have you done today, simpletons?
As such, when you fight him, you're subjected to an arena that's filled with rings and celestial bodies, as well as how his attacks are based on that. Another is Sayu, a digital mermaid idol whose base level is obviously aquatic themed, but also has a clear digital theme to go with the fact that she's an artificial pop idol, much like Hatsune Miku, or any popular VTubers nowadays. Hell, there are times where you actually have to fight digital aspects like a digital mouse symbol attacking you because Sayu's editor is joining in on the fight.
I'm too cute to fight.
The game has some really amazing art direction, and honestly, it stood out from other games that I've been wanting to play. So take that as you will from me. Even on the Switch, which has a few issues, it's still pretty good to look at, most of the time. Still, having seen the game on PS4 Pro, Xbox, and PC, I would suggest you guys give it one of those higher systems if you want to experience it at its highest quality with the graphics. Then again, aside from the technical aspects, the design work for the characters is memorable, each character has their own flair to them and helps them stand out in my mind. Granted, that goes with the coloring of the characters, and some of them can be really out there.
Just as I thought. You share none of Zook's artistic perception.
But it's still a good thing to go with, because it makes the game a lot more memorable. The final aspect that really attracted me was the music.
So the game, because it's musical in nature, we want to put a lot of emphasis on the music. And to help us with this, we had a lot of composers helping us with it. So we have Falk, who has worked on multiple Final Fantasy series, Sonic games, as well as Made in the Abyss. And then we have James Lenino, who worked on Citus, Pagman, and Andy, who both work on Spark the Electric Jester. We work together to try and find ways to bridge between the music and the gameplay. So we programmed it in such a way that we can basically change the music between these three genres on the fly anytime when we want it and anywhere we want it.
Now, I'm no stranger to the concept of good video game music, but what made the game stand out was that the rhythm game aspect to it, especially when the game forces you to get into the rhythm in order to do well against boss fights and regular enemies, since their attacks are actually in tune with the music, and for the most part, it really makes the gameplay all the more invigorating. That's what makes the game stand out like games like Devil May Cry. If you're able to get into the groove, you'll be able to dodge attacks and parry back at your opponents to inflict much more damage than you would by basically ramming your guitar up their asses. And this really shines in the boss fights, where each of the bosses has their own unique flavor and style of music that you have to counter.
I thought No Straight Roads would be that, okay? It's not that at all. It is a case of some enemies do move with the beat. The levels will sometimes move with the beat, but it never really asks you to fight with that beat, and you never are really able to create music while you're playing, so it kind of seems like this world is moving in rhythm, but you're just there messing up the song. Like, that's the easiest way to describe it. Like, there's a beat that's happening, and it's like you're the one that's out of syncopation, you know, because you can attack whenever you like, whoever you like.
Oh boy. Yes, this is somewhat a commentary against Skill Up, but whatever. That is the bloody point of the game, Skill Up. You're going against these musical masters who have dominance, and you're trying to disrupt that. It's literally what the game is based on. You're breaking up society's norms and playing to the beat of your own drum.
I thought No Straight Roads would be that, okay? It's not that at all. It is a case of some enemies do move with the beat. The levels will sometimes move with the beat, but it never really asks you to fight with that beat.
So you can play as an indie rock band fighting an EDM empire in a music-centric action game that is not a rhythm game.
So, shut up, Skill Up. Your review was terrible. You claimed that the game was unfinished and used Tatiana's boss fight to claim that.
The last boss is really unfinished and broken. She keeps repeating dialogue that she shouldn't be saying, and some of the phases don't work properly.
When, if you actually paid attention, her whole gimmick is her rewinding time.
For I have time on my side.
Her motif is a clock, and she uses clock hands as her main weapon.
You two are getting on my nerves.
Okay, now, where was I? Oh, yeah, the music is amazing and has many callbacks to different forms of music. Stuff like boy bands, extremely out there expressionism, Japanese pop, and even rap.
Everything tells the birds for him they should sing. Chest up, walks around proud, with a small push and he was sure drop loud.
Although screw DK West minigames, I like the music, especially the French version. But those minigames kinda just suck, and that leads into the gameplay. Now, the gameplay isn't gonna set the world on fire. It's not electrifying. Then again, I'm of the mindset that games don't need to reinvent the wheel in order to be good. You don't need to innovate if you've got a polished set of gameplay. I mean, I've seen the worst of what innovation can do.
That was truly cringeworthy.
As you can imagine, because I brought up the aspect of fighting against music and taking a page out of hack and slash games, the gameplay isn't all that original, but then again, it doesn't have to be so long as it works, and for the most part it does. Basically, you have a dodge button, you have a jump button, you basically get out of the way when your enemy attacks, which is in tune with the music, and then you basically go and whack them with your guitar or slap them with your drumsticks. Simple and to the point. There are special moves, abilities, and etc. that you can use on bosses exclusively because wasting them on trash mobs is just stupid. But you do have a combo attack with Zook, and Mayday happens to be the more stronger of the two.
The final part are the bosses. And these bosses look fantastic. Like, you're seeing some of the footage here of them, and you're running around them in circles like you're on, you know, mixed decks, and you're on a stage against a pianist. You're in an art gallery going through some psychedelic thing. Really great presentation, but the mechanics themselves are just, you don't really do much. You just kind of dodge a few things, and then you just have to stand on top of some other stuff and hold down a button to like convert it into a little turret and it fires for you. You just go through the motions with this stuff and that's it, right? Again, you feel like the developers are trying to create a situation where you are creating music while you are doing this. And sometimes it works, like in this pianist boss in particular, this concept.
Great! You owe me a TV, mate.
You know, it's amazing how I can tell that Skill Up didn't bother actually give the game a chance. You can tell that he actively avoided the purple notes in his fight against Yinu. These notes, while still in tune with the music, can be reflected back at your opponent on beat with the music simply by hitting the attack button, and when you do that, it sends the music notes right back at them and inflicts massive damage, and can give you extra bonuses depending on what abilities you have at the time. Like it can give you notes that you can fire off at long range of targets, or it can also heal you up in the case of Zook. Also, Skill doesn't bring up the parry mechanic at all in his video, because that would go against his notion of you can't fight in sync with the music. Yeah, his video is total garbage. That being said, there are still issues with the combat and gameplay. The game has bugs in it that can range from making the graphics lose their charm or even getting me stuck in the void. I brought this up earlier and I kicked myself for not recording this, but in one of my replays against DJ Subatomic Supernova, I saw a random character standing outside the arena, ran towards him, and I fell out of the world. It was a mess. Of course, since I don't have proof, I don't expect you to believe me. That's perfectly fine. I did get evidence of the graphics falling down, though. Personally, I think that the game should have been polished a little more to cover these issues, since while the gameplay isn't anything new, it's at least passable when it works. And it kinda makes me sad that the game was kind of a little bit rushed out, especially since it had to do a little bit of a delay. Getting back onto the positives, you can actually improve Mayday and Zook because whenever you defeat an NSR artist or help power up the city, you can get more fans that can unlock more and more abilities and techniques for you to use in the game. The weakest part of the game, however, is the DK West minigames, mainly due to the fact that skill ceiling for the game is way too much. Mainly due to the fact that the level curve is way too steep in this regard. I couldn't get past the second level quite a bit, and there's no way to actually practice this minigame that is so disconnected from the rest of the gameplay other than to deal with the actual minigame as a bit of a pain. And you kinda need to do this if you want to unlock more special moves. If anything, this is probably on me because I hate these kinds of games, but I wish that there was a much more lenient skill curve. Now the game has voice acting and
voice acting also is really not great. Like, it's very, very flat, and some of the characters just sound awful. Like, why were they cast that way? Like, the main villain in particular, this very flat, monotone performance.
Listen here, Cliff. I don't give a damn about you, understand?
Great. You owe me a TV, Tatiana.
I don't even know why you put your TV in my office in the first place.
You know, I hate it when reviewers, when they talk about voice acting in their videos, they only provide one clip, as if that's actually enough to prove their point. Take for example, Tatiana. She's a stone cold-hearted businesswoman.
Stop with the theatrics. You think you're better than me? I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The age of rock is over. Did I mention that one of the members of this band is a drummer named Zook? Thought that might be of interest to you. Anyway, we need to fix this right now. Bring me the Horn of Mending.
The Horn of Mending? Please do not tell me you are thinking of asking for that guy's assistance.
Desperate times calls for desperate measures. We'll lose more than just a district if we don't act immediately. Now bring it.
I mean, you have the character showing a large range of emotions a good portion of the time.
It's not rocket science. I mean, it is, but... Can someone fetch me some fresh Mr. Dodo Ice Pops? This one's all melted. Great. What else could possibly go wrong today? Don't you know who I am? I am DJ Subatomic Supernova!
And then you had some bad ones. Like for Yinu right here, she's a child, but it comes off as so stilted towards me.
Mayday and Zook? I knew it! You guys talk big about music, but the only thing...
Talk big about what?
Yeah, you need to speak up. The acoustics here isn't designed for speech clarity.
Talk big about music! But the only thing you guys seem to be good for is breaking stuff!
But I would at least say that it's entertaining, and while the writing and characters themselves do make up for the weakness of the voice acting...
But I am real! As real as your love for each other. Wait,
what? Whoa, hold on!
I would not wish it to my worst enemy when I... Hey! I'm talking to you two! Where are you going?
But I'd say that it's at least entertaining, mainly because the writing and the characterization is very strong in this game. It makes up for any weakness in the voice acting, since the writing itself can be very funny. Speaking of characters, a lot of them are pretty memorable, and that's not just due to the coloring, but that's also due to the characterization, character design, and the creative writing at work here. Mayday, while sounding a touch awkward here and there,
She's not going to fall for those cheap compliments. You tell her, May. May?
Wow. You're just jelly that all these pretty boys are fawning over me.
May.
Did you hear what they said about my lips, though?
What have you done to her, Ten?
is full of energy and can be really charming. She also has a bit of an arc throughout the story where she grows up and sees the other side of music. Zook, on the other hand, is
the drummer dude Zook, again, like no personality, just not good.
Oh, we're gonna BUNKA, we're gonna JUNKA, and we're gonna bam in their faces.
Yes!
Can you please stop punching my TV? Why did you even punch it this time?
You know, skill up, if you want to prove you didn't actually play the game, you did a great job with that point. Not only do we see Zook being the cool, calm character throughout the story, he's also the straight man to Mayday's antics.
You better believe it. We're not stopping till we claim our fate.
And bring change to the system.
Yeah, that too.
But this also ignores the fact that Zook displays a lot of personality and we learn a lot about him. Like only 3 levels in, if that, you see a huge dive in Zook's relationship with his brother, DK West.
So this is your brother? How come you don't share his accent?
Well, I don't know. How come your hair is yellow?
What's that got to do with
West?
His short temper with his family, and what his history is with his brother is like from college and even earlier. Then later, when we get into the history of Zook and Eve and how she loved him and he left her, after setting his hair on fire apparently, we do see Zook's tender and caring side.
Eve, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't be the person you wanted me to be. When we first met, you immediately saw potential in me. I gave you hope that perhaps I could eventually see the world as you did. But I'm not like you. I wish I was, but I'm not.
But if we just try again...
Eve, please. I was a coward for running away. I know that now. But seeing you today reminded me of how alive you can truly be when you're performing your craft. I know how terrifying it must be to face the possibility that you might never meet another like-minded person in this world. But you're better than that. You don't need anybody else to complete you. You complete yourself.
To even suggest that he's a bland character is kind of a dumb thing to say. I don't want to touch too much on the story for the sake of spoilers, but while there is a bit of a political message, it's not really all that political, especially when it's also interlaced with scenes such as...
Do you think what you're doing is right? What is it that you guys fight for? What is it that you guys want?
Well, I don't mind a sign poster of 1010.
May.
Okay.
I wouldn't even call this a political game, as it's more or less trying to say that there's more than one view in the world, and that creativity shouldn't be stifled. It's not a deep story, but then again, it doesn't need to be with a good one and a fun message. It just needs to be entertaining with characters. Now, that being said, would I recommend this game? Yes and no.
A what now?
I personally like it, but just because I personally like something, that doesn't mean that it doesn't have its issues. I've talked about the bugs and glitches that should have been ironed out before this game was released, especially when it was released for multiple platforms. It's charming, it's fun, the art direction for the game is extremely catchy, the music is amazing, and it's definitely a game that people need to really experience through playing it, since you're not going to get enveloped by the game by simply watching a Let's Play on it online. But then comes with the issues with the bugs. I can't speak for other systems, but there needs to be an update with the Switch version, obviously, because I don't want to see this nightmare fuel.
Look, boys, our one true love is finally here.
Then there's the price, $40. While there is a ton of replayability, especially when you fight the bosses again at higher difficulties, which have different strategies that you need to accomplish to get through them, I would at least suggest giving the game some time to see if the developers are willing to update the game and fix some of the issues that I brought up. But hey, if you got the cash, a gift card, or anything like that, then I do recommend the game if you do like good art direction. Don't let people like SkillUp tell you otherwise. This game can be pretty good, with some rough edges. And it's clear that SkillUp didn't bother to pay attention to the game, because he couldn't even understand how to unlock the fast travel system.
Again, the city looks spectacular. I loved walking around it and looking at it the first time, but when I had to walk past parts of it the 7th time, I was like, okay, I'm not really down for this, you know?
Still, for this being an independent company's first outing, and this being their first game, I genuinely want to see what they do next, and I hope that anyone from Metronomic sees this video. I hope you take this video's criticism to heart, and not let people like SkillUp, who obviously didn't care enough to actually pay attention to your game, discourage you.
No Straight Roads is about art and music. Sure, on the surface, you can enjoy the world through the crazy visuals and the wacky boss fights, but on a deeper level, we do want to tell a story about what it means to be an artist. Why do you play music? It is a topic that we are very passionate about, and we hope that it will also resonate with the players too.
There was obviously a lot of time and passion put into this game. It's something that I can respect as someone who is also a creator of arts and someone who struggles to get his name out there. Still, as a critic, I do have to warn people about this product until the bugs are fixed. Get those done, maybe lower the price a little bit, and you got yourself a good product.
There's only one way to end this.
Right you are, Zook! Red light!
Green light!